So, ladies, if the 90s taught us anything, it's not to overpluck our eyebrows. And that's been a lesson that's been learnt the hard way for many women who now have tiny little thin eyebrows and are furiously colouring in big fat eyebrows. So, I didn't do that. And as you can tell, I'll move my fringe a bit. As you can tell, I have a decent amount of eyebrow there. But I did pluck along the top, and I wish I hadn't done that, and I don't do that now because that gives your natural shape. And I think if you've got, some stragglers that are really out of place, pluck those. But otherwise, I think it's a shame to lose that, and it just looks a little bit more natural. And I find that to have a really, it's making my brow, to have a really defined sort of lower line and tail, you can go as thick and as defined as you like, but if the inner corner and the sort of top line is a little bit more blended and more natural looking, I think that's a really pretty look, and it's not too obvious. It's people aren't just going to be staring at your eyebrows. So first thing is you want to pluck just underneath, and just, if you can, follow the natural shape of what you've got, because that will be what should look the most natural and pretty on you. And then let me find my card. If not, the way to map it out is pretty simple. You need something straight. So it mainly revolves around your nose, but for where to start on the inside, I'm going to go from the corner of my eye, because some people have more flared out nostrils or what have you, and I think the easiest thing, and the thing that I do, is I just go straight up from the corner of my eye. And if I didn't have anything there, I would take my brow pencil. So I'd line up, if I was drawing it in from nothing, and I would put a dot there, so I know that's the starting point. For the very end, you go from the corner of your nose past the corner of your eye, and then I'd dot there. And then for the sort of arch, you go sort of across the middle of your eye, but not so much the middle of your eye. You just go past the pupil, so the outer side of the pupil, which is a little bit of an odd one because your pupil goes bigger and smaller. But I'd say when it's just normal, or to us nurses, 3 or 4 mils, then that should give you the point of where the arch is, and then you go down. So that's the very quick and easy landmarking. So again, if you were going from nothing, how you would determine sort of the distance up that your eyebrow should be, it's a little bit more complicated. So I'm not going to go too mad about it, because I think most people will have some eyebrow, and then you can decide how thick you make them, because only you can decide what looks nice on you and what you're comfortable with. But for argument's sake, we'll say that this is 1 centimetre. So the width of your eye is 1 centimetre. Ideally, you'd have another 1 centimetre in between the top of your eye and your eyebrow. And the tip, they should be even. But again, that's personal preference, I think. And then the other bit of measuring would be, so if you've got your 1 centimetre, 1 centimetre, the distance between here and the top of your arch should be 0.5 centimetre. But I think that's splitting hairs, really. And as I say, do whatever makes you feel pretty and comfortable. So I don't know if you can tell, but I've got something in my eyebrow. This eyebrow is looking a little bit more neat than that one. It's not that, to be honest, I had to comb through them because I got foundation in them. But before I'd done that, this was looking a bit shabby, say, a bit like that. I don't know what that bit of fluff is. It might be a bit of a foundation. Anyhow, the point I was going to make there, until I ruined it with my comb, was once you've plucked and you've got the shape, it's really a good idea to trim your eyelashes and your eyebrows, especially if they're very long like mine, and towards the end they're really curly. They're almost like a C shape. And here they sort of go in all different directions. So what you need is something to comb through and some scissors. So as I say, you've got your line, you've got your defined lower line of your brow. Comb the hairs down and then trim them along that line that you made. And then comb them up and do the same thing. For me, it tends to be, you don't want to like really force them, just gently comb them so that you get rid of like the excess long hairs. For me, it's mainly just here, sometimes a little bit over here, but not so much today. And then already you'll have neater looking brows. So my favourite products are this. Again, it's Essence, it's really cheap and it's almost identical to the Benefit Gimme Brow. It's got the fibres in it. So when I've got nice neat brows like this, sometimes brushing that through is enough. Otherwise, what I used to do is I would use a powder, but it's the same technique for powder and cream, if you will, pomades I like to call them, but just like a thick cream. There's my brush. So it's exactly the same technique. You want an angled brush, and again, I prefer powders. I think that they're a bit more blendable. But you load that up. You go, I'm going to just look into my mirror, but I'll turn my head so you can see what I'm doing. You go along, oh gosh, excuse me. You go along the lower eyebrow line, define the tail, and then across the top. And notice I didn't put any more on when I run across the top because I don't want it to be too harsh of a line. And then on the end, again, I haven't put any excess on. I'm just mimicking hair strokes. Then you can play around with this until you get the desired look. I went a little bit too low there. And I like stuff like this because I like to use the lighter shade then on the inside, just to, as I say, it looks a little more natural and a little lighter. Get my spoolie and just comb through. That's why I like, I used to like using the powders because they're just so blendable with a little brush. So that was what I used to do. What I do now is I use the Unique one, and I absolutely love this. That's my old one. Oh, here we go. Because it's a really small point. And it's got a spoolie, and it does last really well. So with this, you can mimic hairs, and you can just be really precise, and it lasts like everything else Unique. It really does last well. So again, go along, and I go in short strokes. It's always best to build it up. It's easier to put more on than it is to take some off. If you've got loads of foundation in your eyebrows, then you just wipe it off every now and again. And then this time I do quite a defined, blocky looking, dare I say, scouse brow. So quick and easy. And then take the spoolie on the end and just comb it through, and that blends it really nicely. And I think that with this you get a bit more of a natural looking brow. I think that's a little bit fake looking for my liking. So what I will say is, when you first start colouring in your eyebrows, you're probably going to feel a bit dramatic and a bit like, whoa, look at those brows. but I can't live without it now. But I do think, I've already said it, but I'll say it again, go as defined as you like underneath and in the tail, but have the inner corner and the top looking more natural, and then you can get away with well, you can see the difference. They both took not very long. They both don't have a lot of product on, but the powder is a bit more dramatic and a little bit more false looking. I always finish with a bit of this, and as I say, sometimes this is enough. It just adds a little bit, because it's got the fibres, it can fill in a few of the gaps. I've got quite gappy eyebrows, especially here. And then a bit of gel just helps to tame them. So that's my brow routine. I hope that's been handy. Let me know if you have any brow stories. I plucked mine for Halloween, and I'm really regretting that now because it's made it even more patchy here, so I really can't get away with just that now. That was a bit of a brow nightmare for me. Anyway, thanks guys. See you later.